in the zone, 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 podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, 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 in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, in the zone, in the zone, in the zone, podcast, 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 in the zone.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the In the Zone podcast. It is your boy, B. Foster. Brian Foster is in the building. Hey, listen, we have to start off. I have to start off today.
You have to?
I have to.
Okay.
I have to. I would be remiss if I did not start off by congratulating myself for...
Strong J.
That's right. No, listen, honestly, it's been... I didn't even realize this until today. I was going through my memories and realized that on this day 5 years ago, I launched the In the Zone podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, 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 whoop. So me and my boy Ivy, my boy Kemp, we sat down in my sub basement and had 3 mics that cost $10. And as you can hear,
that damn sound
if you listen to this,
terrible.
if you listen to the show,
sound like y'all were in a tin can.
We pretty much were. But we sat down and we broke down the career of Eddie Murphy, and it was maybe a month before the pandemic hit. And perfect timing. Not that the pandemic was great, obviously, but really in talking to you all and interacting with all of you all, and you all being on the show and you all watching and commenting really got me through what was a tough time for all of us. So I want to say, first of all, thank you for watching, thank you for your commentary, thank you for my last count was 135 people that have taken part as a guest on this show. We covered many topics. I hope that some people laughed. I hope some people got
they absolutely laughed.
I hope that folks got some therapy in there. I hope that you learned something. But most of all, I hope you had a good time, because I've had a good time interacting with all of you. So appreciate you. Thanks for watching our little show. Sean, thank you. For real. Aww. I probably would have stopped doing this 2 years ago had you not been here. Because remember, I was going to take my hiatus and do my thing and do other stuff.
Yes.
And then I said, fuck that. So thank you for adding some variety and spice and helping to carry me through these last couple of years. You have been the best addition I've had this whole time.
I'm going to cry. Fake tears. That was so sweet.
Thank you. And thank you for coming here today and this momentous occasion. I appreciate you so much.
I thought the titties were the important part.
We're going to start off where we start off. All right? We got one thing at a time. We'll work our way down.
I got one question before we actually get into the topic and introduce the guest. So what even made you I don't think we've ever talked about what possessed you to even start a podcast. And we're not gonna linger here long, but I'm curious, and I know somebody else had that question.
No, really fast. Been messing around on the socials for quite some time. I'm an opinionated brother, and we had a in the zone group that was centered around sports, but
that's not what I heard.
Well, that's how it started. That's how it started.
Yeah,
and it spun off into other different things or whatever. And everybody was like, "You got to make a show of this. You got to have these guys on TV. You should have a podcast or some of this stuff." And I said, "Hey, everybody else got a podcast.
Joe Budden can have one. Why can't
I? And I enjoy running my mouth. I enjoy learning things. I enjoy interacting with folks. So it just seemed like a natural thing to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's been great. Been fun.
Of course, you brought none of that in the zone first edition energy to the show at all, but that's okay because we don't need none of that smoke. None of it came here.
No, we don't. No, it's not. That wasn't the point. Oh, Lorenzo Gladney. This is my guy. Graduated from elementary and high school with that dude. What's going on, Zoe?
Another Whitney Youngin.
Oh, you love us. We everywhere.
I know. It surrounded me like locusts. Anyway.
We're trying to raise you.
Are we ready to introduce, I guess?
We are, please.
You're going to make me do the tough job. All right, so we'll actually start with the in-studio guest. We love a nice ITZ virgin, and this one we will absolutely love. I've known this person for a really long time.
He brought drinks. This is my dude.
Okay, so let's start with that. He brought not only alcohol, which is rare for a guest to bring us alcohol, but he brought
good alcohol.
Nice, expensive alcohol. So William, thank you for joining us and getting us drunk.
I am glad to be here on such a momentous occasion. I didn't know it was a 5-year anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Like I said, I didn't know till this morning. So, this is apropos. Appreciate it.
So we can call this a celebration drink.
That's right. And yes, he's brought fancy drinks. So
we got Hibiki, we got some Blanton's, we got some E.H. Taylor single barrel,
some stuff I ain't never heard of. I'm just like, okay, let's go with our fancy drinks. And so thank you, Will, for hanging out with us. Now, of course, we always have to bring in ITZ's favorite troll. You know him for all his constant vegan posts and all his not contradictory, just being an all-around internet troll. Jamal, hi, Jamal. How you doing?
What's the good word, good people? Thank you for having me back. 5 years and I've only been on the show twice. That's some bullshit.
First of all, that's bullshit.
Wow.
Jamal's been on the show at least 50 times. At least.
One of our OGs,
Yes.
one of our regulars. Always good to have you back, brother.
All right. And last but certainly not least, again, we love a good ITZ version.
We do.
So virgin, that's the word. And this is going to be a name that I'm going to have to practice throughout the show. But Key Montes?
Yes.
Let's get it right.
There you go.
Thank you for joining us and allowing me to fuck up your name for at least the first 3 minutes of the show.
It's all right.
Having you.
I've got a lifetime of it, so it's no problem. But how's everybody doing?
We're all good, my man. Appreciate you joining us.
We ready to hop into this.
Congratulations on the 5-year anniversary, and thank you all for having me.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hopefully
Toya came in on titties. That's a hell of a note. Just a hell of a note.
That's a hell of a Toya know how we get that.
She absolutely does because she was on our show 2 weeks ago.
Hey, Toya, did you ever get some of Jamal's fried chicken when he was delivering to U of I? That's another show. We'll
Wait,
talk about
can we
that
get you? Can we get some fried chicken?
No,
that's another show.
That was a long time.
We don't do chicken no more. We don't do chicken no more.
Oh, that's right.
Be
We gotta
vegan.
do soy chicken. Ugh,
Anyway.
it's not the same. All right, so to get this kicked off, I'm gonna start with the person to my left. Will start with the first question. What does being pro-Black truly mean to you? Is it strictly about supporting Black culture, or does it extend to political and social advocacy for Black people?
I think it's all encompassing. It is everything you do from a socioeconomic perspective, political perspective, how you vote, how we are looking to advance the people. And I think a lot of the institutions that are there, you can't, jump around them, right? You can't vote for Donald Trump and say you're pro-Black in a lot of different ways, just because a lot of his policies don't forward the people.
Well, that's a whole nother show topic.
Yeah, we could probably go there forever, right? But I think, and I think it's a segue into some of the topics we're going to talk about tonight, just because, when you're connected to somebody that is white, but may have different socioeconomic background, might have different political leanings as well, kind of merging those two into a singular couple is really important, so you can continue to be pro-Black and feel comfortable in your way of life with your partner. So,
but let's not bury the lead, right? Let's talk a little bit about your partner.
Mhm.
And of course, the whole point of this is, can you be pro-Black and married white? So Will, talk a little bit about your partner, their race, and you talked about merging different ideologies and maybe so coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds. Like, how were you able to work through that or marry that, or however you guys managed to navigate that in your
I
relationship?
think it's important to start off with the fact that I have been married twice.
Mhm.
First time I was married was to someone that Chantel actually met as well. She was mixed, closer to where I came from a socioeconomic background perspective. I met Melissa, my wife, 3.5 years in Chicago. She's an SVP for a advertising firm. She's a Democrat, a little liberal, and I think that made a lot of things a little easier because she's open to the ideas around Black culture, some of our struggles, what we've gone through, et cetera. We've had a lot of conversations about what advancing, society kind of looks like, what kind of things are doing it, what kind of things are not doing it. And it's really easy with her just because she has an open mind when it comes to this. A couple of weeks ago when I said, hey, we need to stop being with Target and putting our money there around their DEI policy, she jumped on. She was like, hey, okay, who can we go with, right? We've
So
done this.
sad about that.
I know, right? But we've done it in the past when I was saying that Papa John's was racist pizza back when their CEO was saying outlandish things. She also jumped on board, right? And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she understands that this isn't equal. We haven't been equal since we've been here, right? And I think getting with someone that is like that kind of makes it a lot easier. I think and this wouldn't happen if I was married to a conservative, these conversations would be different. It'd be difficult. It'd be difficult to be pro-Black because our money wouldn't be aimed at the same things.
I think it's also important he didn't say this. His wife is white.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I thought that was known. Very white, Polish, 72% Polish, right?
I just want to make sure if anybody missed it, that's an important point.
Yeah, very much. And so if she was conservative, this would be a different conversation for me because our aims, the way we think about life, we wouldn't be aimed in the same direction. And I think when you're a power couple, she's an executive, I'm an executive. When you're aiming your resources and whatnot to a common goal, you can do so much more. But if we're divided, we're not, right? And it would be harder for me to say I'm pro-Black when my wife is obviously doing things that are not.
Sound like you had a follow-up question.
Well, I'm sure the audience is going to be curious. Do you usually date white, or was this kind of?
This is a good question. Good question. So I went to Hyde
I didn't
Park.
see that coming.
So I went to
Hyde
Hyde
Park Academy?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
All right,
Okay,
so
Chicago man.
So you didn't start out dating white.
No. I remember 2 white people from high school completely, right? But I was in a program at the University of Chicago, which is now called TRIO, but it was office special programs over there before. And before that, I was at High Jump at the Latin School. So I had some exposure, but through high school, it was all Black. So you take that, and I also play a very white sport. I play college volleyball, right? So when I went to Indiana University, there was 40,000 people on that campus, 800 of which are Black. So the odds of me walking out of there married to a Black woman were pretty slim mathematically, right? I ended up married to a biracial woman. And then as that continued on, then there have been more dating of whites than it has been of Blacks.
Okay. Cool. Just curious.
All right. Key Montes. Man, I'm really gonna have to practice that. Same question for you.
That was great. That was
I know,
great.
but now I need to say it like fluidly instead of like real broken up. Same question for you. Being pro-Black, what does it mean to you? And is it strictly just supporting Black businesses, or does it extend past that into politics or social advocacy for Black people? Just talk about that, and talk to us about your current partner as well. Are they white? Are you married? Let's get the details on that.
Okay. I'll go in reverse.
Mhm.
I am married. This is my second marriage. She's white. My first wife was Black. With that out of the way, what we refer to as Blackness isn't about a color, it's about a way of life. And it's about a spiritual cohesiveness through all that we do. So it requires service. It requires action. You know, love is a verb. It's not just some pronoun. It's a verb. It requires action. So as you can give, whether it be educating, coaching, mentoring, where you spend your money, who you educate, how you educate. Do you look to reach out and create dialogue and be a dialogue and live it, not just talk it, you know, not on just on the internet and for likes and for what people want to see and some image, but what do you give freely of yourself to the people for the nation building? That's what it means to be pro-Black to me.
Okay. I apologize. Did you speak about your partner? They're
He did.
right.
Start-
Oh,
He
start
started
off
out
with
that's
with
why
that.
I said I may have missed it. I was reading, so
Yeah.
I apologize.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
started
I
out.
opened up.
Perfect. Okay, Jamal.
Yeah,
We
and
already
just I'm sorry, just to address it because it was brought up, political affiliations. She's more liberal than I am. So,
Are you conservative?
oh God, no.
Oh, I don't. I mean, it's okay if you are. Somebody
Yeah,
clearly some Blacks that voted for him.
Well,
I should
well,
probably
it's
address that because I brought that up.
it's hard to follow a conservative platform in the American modern political system and be living in Maya.
Yep.
Because of that, you cannot be pro-Black and be a modern conservative in America.
I completely agree. So, and when I said that, I didn't want to, ostracize any Black Republicans that are out there. I do have some conservative leanings. I am ex-military, so my love of guns is real, right? I think from a taxation perspective, there's some things that I am probably more libertarian-like. But as an overall, I don't think I could similar thought process. I can't be a Republican in this modern way of doing politics, just because it stretches into things that I could never ever be a part of. So.
Okay. All right,
Even
fair enough.
16 years ago, you could have been a Republican and still been pro-Black.
True
But
statement.
not today.
Okay. All right, Jamal. We know you don't. We know your wife. You post her all the time.
Everybody don't know Jamal. Jamal, tell us your story.
I'm sorry, Jamal. Same question. What does being pro-Black mean to you? Is it politics? Is it being for the people? And talk about your spouse.
Yeah, so I got a Black wife. In short, to me, pro-Blackness is a comprehensive ideology. Like, it's not one thing, it's a combination of many things that requires solidarity, love, investment. I think that interracial relationships, and shout outs to these brothers for making it work, inevitably divides the economic and cultural resources of the Black community. I think the legacy of racism mandates that even though race is a social construct and has no bearing in anything, it's just the falsitudes. I consider myself an anti-racist that I'll get to later, but it still dictates real world outcomes. Mm-hmm. And when Black men choose to not marry Black women, we're doing ourselves a disservice. And I would even go as far to say the most revolutionary thing a Black man can do is have a Black family. And that starts with loving a Black woman. So to be fully committed to Black empowerment, one must prioritize the Black family and economic structures. When these men go, that money goes to their wives. Their assets goes to their wives. And hopefully she's a good enough woman that she'll do the right things with it and promulgate the future of the Black community and what have you. But as we all know, modern times, right now, there's a definitive adverse force against everything that Blackness is, regardless of how you define it. And so with that, we have to be serious and intentional about our actions. I hate to say that love has constraints, but it does. And you have to be mindful of that.
Let me ask you a question, Jamal.
If it has constraints, it's not love.
Wait, let me hop in here.
So I would ask any brother who says, hey, I love her. Well, when'd you meet her? Did you love her then? When'd you ask her out on the first date? Did you love her then? When did you say, hey, let's me and you go get some dinner? Did you love her then? Because that's before love. Love is an action word. It's something you do. It doesn't just happen. You know, you choose who you love.
Wait, let me hop in here with a follow-up question to something Jamal said really quick. So you said one of the things you said, and I'm not going to say it exactly the way you said it, Jamal, is one of the important things is to build a Black family, right? And I guess my question to you would be, even though you marry white, if you have kids, they are Black. Like, right? They can be as biracial as they want to be.
I don't have any biracial children, by the way.
That's fine. That's fair, right? Will, you do, right?
They Black to me.
Right?
No.
So
So
you have these biracial kids, they are Black. Aren't you still building a Black family, even though the mother may be white? But those kids are still Black. You're still building a Black family where Black wealth is still going toward that Black family. Yes, the wife is white, but it's still going to Black people at the end of the day. Am I not seeing that correctly, or am I missing something? That was for Jamal.
That's to you.
Is he frozen?
Yeah, definitely Jamal.
Damn it. I think he's frozen.
I think he is frozen.
God damn it, that's such a good question.
Damn it, Trump got him.
Fuck.
He said, no black, pro-Black, anything.
All right, so to Jen's point, yes, they are getting raised as Black kids. And so we should probably talk about my kids. So I got 2 from my previous marriage, which is 75% Black. And I got a very cute baby who is 50-50. And so it was Jamal is back. So I'll finish my thought really quickly and then we go back to Jamal. But it was a condition of marriage and having another child that every kid in our household would be raised as if they were a Black child, right?
You said that was a condition.
A condition. It wouldn't happen otherwise. We wouldn't have got married.
Okay.
I got a follow-up question to that, but we got damn, Jamal's gone again. So I can have my follow-up question.
Figuring out his thing. We'll get him back.
Yes, continue.
If you don't mind, I'd like to address a couple of the things that he said on principle.
Absolutely.
Who said?
Jamal.
Okay. He will.
Is he back?
He's
figuring out. Just continue.
Okay. For one, his argument is inherently racist.
Tell us more about that.
Because to say, I'm not going to look at an individual and on their face, because of their color, I'm going to negate the blessing that they can be, is absolutely no different than the person that looks at me and decides, oh, I need to clutch my purse. I need to cross the street. I need to lock my door. It's the same sentiment. That is not my act. That is not embracing the all. That is not accepting love in all its forms. So I would have to tell you on that point, you're in violation of my act on at least 2 points. And furthermore, a fully developed and healthy individual will always look for the individual, because if you embrace yourself as is, with no preconceived notions, because your journey is unique. My journey is unique. You can't put me in a box. So if I can't be put in a box, why would I be willing to put someone else in a box? I've lived through that. I've lived through overt racism, not just covert. So it's, once again, that falls short of the spiritual requirements for right and wrong. So with all due respect, that's where that stands from a spiritual standpoint.
Let me ask you something, a follow-up, because
Mhm.
It was just stated by Will that there was no negotiations with his wife about how his children were to be raised, even though they're of mixed ancestry. And you agreed.
Okay.
You said, yep, that's how. Was this conversation had with your wife before you all had kids? How that conversation come about? I'm curious how this standard was set in your household.
Now, me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, for one, the 2 black women that I had children with, I have 5 from 2 black women. How our children would be raised was long discussed before we ever had children.
Oh,
So,
but they were both black.
yeah,
So you don't have any children with your current wife.
no.
Oh,
but they still come into the house.
But we have grandchildren. So,
yeah, I got
and
you.
I mean, they're raised in truth. And so the truth is whatever the truth is. We don't do lies in this house. So it doesn't matter if it's Santa Claus or Jesus. We if it's not truth, we don't deal with it.
So what do you mean by that? Are you saying that, like, Will was very clear that his wife, and I'm curious how you even she was able to navigate that, but I feel like that's a whole nother show,
We'll
right?
circle back to that.
But what was your conversation with your white wife about your black kids? Like, I don't know when she came into their lives. I imagine they were at some level of childhood when you married her.
No, half
they were
of them
adults?
were grown by then.
Okay. So that wasn't even something you all discussed, really.
I mean, we discuss children, of course. We're married. I mean, but we discuss children as children. So I'm not understanding where is it.
So are you, because you're saying that you're basing it in truth. What truth does that? I don't know what that means, that you're basing it in truth. Are you saying that you're going to have to talk to our children about being pulled over by the police? Are you going to have to talk to your children about the fact that no matter how much white is in them, they're going to constantly be considered black, that there are going to be there's going to be bigotry placed against them on what their hair looks like, what their skin looks like, how smart they are not? Like, what do you mean by raising your children is based in truth? That's what I'm trying to get to the bottom of with that comment.
Okay. Is Santa Claus real?
No.
Okay. So we don't do Santa Claus in my house.
Okay.
Right? Because that's conditioning somebody to being lied to. You are great because you are who you are. There are people in our family who look different, but they all get the same love. Okay. So, they know Columbus didn't discover America. They know that Scandinavian that they call Jesus the Christ isn't a real person.
Okay.
So, I don't.
We talking about pulling the veil back on.
I would say social construct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They're raised to understand it, but to work around it and through it so that they can live in power. Because you can only live in as much power as the truth that you live in. So I'll make sure they have truth so that they can have power.
So there were some questions that came from the group about how a white chick can raise a
we'll circle back to that. Yeah, we'll circle back to that.
Just we can get all to all the messy questions in a second.
Yeah, all right, I'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm gonna keep sipping.
No, you keep doing that. And C-Fez, you're right. I'm glad you found us. Join. Jamal, you got your text straight? You good?
Yeah, hey, I got horrible internet. Y'all better talk fast. I'll be out of here. Be bleeding again.
You married a white woman, you had some better internet.
All right, back to before your technical difficulties, right? My question for you was, yes, you marry a white woman, and if you have children, they're black. Are you not raising a black family? Are you not pumping black dollars into black children, i.e. a black family? Because one of your points was your wife is white. She's going to give her money to the white folks. And then our black dollars are going back into the white ethos. And I guess I challenge that, because if your kids are black, they're still reaping the benefits of black wealth, even if your wife is white.
So a couple of things. Married to a lawyer. So the first piece is estate planning. Your wife gets everything first. So depending on how she feels about those kids will dictate if those kids ever see any part of that. But let me say this.
Not necessarily true.
Right. That's what estate planning is for, guys.
You do realize black people do have wills, right?
His wife is an estate planner. She's black, so clearly.
Let me get back to the point.
All right.
Number one, I want to say this.
Hey, Jamal, stop trolling.
Crazy.
I just want to say this.
I think it's good.
I don't want y'all to think that I'm saying that these brothers on the panel aren't good brothers. The conversation today is pro-black, right?
Right.
They're pro-black adjacent. They're good men. They're probably doing a lot for the community and the whole nine.
So you've done more for the community. So you've done more for the community than me?
Hold on, Kyle.
Is that what you're saying?
Now it's not what I'm saying, but
Are you saying you've done more for the people than me?
See, only somebody who's not secure in their blackness would try to, I'm more black than somebody. The conversation is on pro-blackness. So if you're pro-blackness, you would have a black family. That's what pro-blackness means. I don't even have to argue that. I'm not saying you're a bad brother. I'm just saying that if you're pro-black,
the two are not mutually exclusive. The two are not mutually exclusive.
They definitely are.
How? Based on what?
I just explained. The first part was what's the definition of blackness, of pro-blackness, right?
Wait. So you get to define blackness.
That's what I'm saying. The definition don't come from
define it.
No.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So now we're back to opinion. Okay, no problem.
Right.
Huge opinion that a pro-black equals pro-family. No, it does not.
Speak to it.
So pro-blackness isn't pro-family.
He's talking to y'all. He's not talking to me.
Pro-blackness isn't pro-family?
Who is the black? I don't need to be the blackest.
Okay.
I want to make a point on something.
Pro-family is pro-black.
All right, so
yeah,
let me.
But I think Jamal's point is if you don't have an all-black family, then you're
I'm
not.
sorry, I didn't get a chance to answer the question. The question
that's true.
was
Yes,
about
Jamal
children.
did interrupt and hop in.
No. Jamal brought that on himself.
Right.
He started that.
Now wait a minute.
Okay.
To be fair to Jamal sat and listened to everybody give their position on what pro-black was.
I'm not sure he was here for it.
I think he was missing half of it.
He didn't have to listen to us.
He missed half.
I was here.
I tried, Jamal. I tried.
Come on, Jamal. Come on.
But once again,
Listen.
I mean, I respect all comedy. I respect all that. But when we talk about what it really means to be pro-black, that's a very serious conversation to me. When you tell me I'm not pro-black, I would argue to you that I guarantee I've done more actual systemic work in my community and in my area, not just one city, than you have, than most people have. But it's not about that, because there are people who haven't done as much as I have, but by any definition, I look up to their blackness because they don't have much to give, but they're giving all that they can. And they're doing all that they can.
I think that's
whether it be feeding the kids on the way to school, even though they don't have much to eat. That's pro-black.
You only feed black kids?
Hold on.
You say what?
Hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. I think that's a fair point. I think when we have these conversations, and I'm guilty of this myself, I do compare what people do. And all I really ask is that people do something. It ain't even to the maximum capacity what they can to do something. So I think that's a fair point. But Jamal, it is your mic. It's your turn. Get back to it, brother.
And let me just add this. No. I'm just going to add this really quick point. The point of this show is for everybody to express their opinion, whether you appreciate it, like it, hate it, or not. We want to be able to have these kind of tough conversations. We need to have these tough conversations and just hear everybody's point. That doesn't mean you can't get mad or insulted, but we have to let people get their point out. It's going to be important to the overall point of this show. All right, Jamal, you can continue.
Yeah, I can't wait till I talk.
All right, so where I wanted to start with is that society has weaponized this thing they've created called race. They've used it to their benefit and to the detriment of others. I'm hearing these good brothers on the stage talking about the good work they do, and I don't deny it. I would even go as far to say, hey, that good work you're doing, you're not just doing it for black kids, you're a good person, you're doing it for people who need help. So to start equating pro-blackness to doing good, that ain't what pro-blackness is. Pro-blackness is taking on the construct of race. It's saying that every auspice of race that's been forwarded ain't true. And to prove that it ain't true, to prove that the blonde hair, blue eye, the pale skin isn't better, that you make sure the one you're loving looks like you. And if it doesn't, then man, yeah, you're solid. You're a good man. You're doing great work for the community, but don't come to me screaming you're pro-black, because you're not. You're good. You may be great.
I did this
pro-black.
I mean,
hold on.
Well, I understand that's your opinion, and I'm not here to debate opinions. I'm here to speak about spiritual facts that we can all verify and prove, and things that we can actually build on as a nation. You know, Kemet built a civilization that lasted for more than 3,000 years on those principles. So I'll take those principles to opinions any day.
Hey, so when was the fall of Kemet? Was
Hold
it
on,
when
Jamal.
the Kemet? I'm just asking. We gonna talk race.
We not. I
Hey,
feel.
what?
I'm gonna need everybody. I'm gonna need Jamal. Like you've been on this goddamn show a jillion
Well,
times. You know how
I
this
mean,
goes. Calm down.
are you asking politically? Are you asking militarily? Which are you asking?
Because Jamal's not running this show.
That's
So
right.
he's not asking
Oh, okay.
anything.
Will,
Will, we're bringing you back in.
yes, please.
Oh my God.
Fight the fight. Chantel, how do we meet?
How did we meet?
Yeah, how do we meet?
So fun fact, Will used to be my manager when I first got into consulting about 10 years ago.
Yep. Chantel, before you met me, did you have any real enterprise level ERP management experience?
Not at all. Not a lick.
Okay. So pro-black to me is the idea that I can move the race forward with the platform I have, the position I have, no matter if it's, inside of a company that's Indian ran, white ran, no matter what, just because I have that platform and I can move us forward. So when Chantel came to me, I took a flyer on her. I said, okay, no experience, all good. I can teach you, right? That's what pro-black means to me, right? Everything I'm wearing right now, and look, I'm representing the hood right now. I said this when I came in. I got on paper planes. The only brand that gets bought from a athleisure perspective in our household right now, we're moving away from Nike. Paper planes, Jay-Z's brand. I got on a Success shirt that's a co-found with a guy I know from the hood, Vell, and Bobby Simmons. And so they do partnerships with Jordan. So I rep that, right? I got on red bottom Louboutins, right? That man's Egyptian French. And so when I hear we talking about pro-black, where we put our money, we make conscious decisions to make our money go to the places where they're going to get back to black folk. Mm-hmm. And we do that consistently across the board, right? And so, although I respect the opinion about the family being the thing that drives blackness, what I can do is drive my resources. And I drive those resources to the things that makes it go back into the community. We've heard all of that talk about how black money goes one time through the community and goes out, whereas, the Jews and whatnot, they 6-7 times inside the community before it goes out. And I'm trying to change that idea. That's the first point. Second point, and I think this is the most important point. I have always seen race as a construct for division. It is not white, black. It's really about the rich and the poor and the division of wealth in this country. And so when we talk about, who's doing more and whatnot, I really want to talk about who is putting the money back, because ultimately it doesn't matter if a white person's putting the money back and my wife supports the brands that I support. So we're all putting the money back in what we're supposed to do. But it's really about, hey, if the top 1% doesn't want anything to do with the bottom 99%, how do we catch up? And so putting people like Chantel in a position to catch up and people under me in other positions to catch up and try to undo the 400 years that we've been dealing with, that's more important to me than talking about who I married.
I got no pushback for that. Given I
got a little pushback.
Given that you got lifted.
Yeah.
If you need a little pushback, I got some pushback.
No, but he's right. He is the reason I'm in the socioeconomic class that I'm in. Like, that's just bar none, and have the level of PM experience and knowledge and expertise and excellence that I currently do. That's just, I can't even say nothing past that.
So it's his fault you're sucking the job.
Can I?
I'm not sucking my job. Thank you.
Hold on.
Can
I am curious to Jamal's thoughts about that. Those well eloquated words.
Those were, hey, and shout outs to you, good brother. I feel your sentiments. My only pushback would be that when it comes to classism, and I firmly believe in classism too, it's the root of all evil. But when it comes to classism, many for lack of a better term, racist has funded black folks. The entire music industry is based off the exploitation of black folks, where they give a little cash back. The entire sports industry is now predicated on taking flyers on black folks giving cash. Now, I know your heart is in a better place than those who are just doing it for cash. But if we look to money to be the defining factor of pro-blackness, we're going to lose every time. I know we're trying to catch up on the financial metrics, but what's more importantly is the mental confines that occur. And again, I say this with all due respect, good brothers, and I know y'all gonna get mad at me for saying it, but before you fell in love with that you fell in love with, there was no love. There was something else that drew you to them. And I would like to leave y'all with this thought right here. It says, psychological studies have proven that human nature is for a minority to conform to a majority without any undue influence. That's without any influence. What happens when you have an abject onslaught of influence cultivated in the de-esteeming and the casting of an inferiority on one group and a superiority on the other? There was an experiment in 1950 called the matching lines experiment that proved that we believe that our choices are our own personal choices, when it's not really the case. Our personal choices are nothing more than the confluence of society's influence and changing and making our human nature to conform. I say all that to say this. When you met your wife, you thought she was beautiful. When you met your wife, there was something about it that made you go over and say, hey, let me holler. And I'm saying what that thing was abject racism. And that if you're going to be pro-black, you would have had to fight that. You have to say, nah, not me. I'm not going. She could be my homie. She could be my friend. We can have business relationships, but she will not be my wife. And then when you said she'd be your wife, cool, nothing against it. I'm an anti-racist now. I'm only arguing this for the fact. But the point is that you can't be pro-black. You can be everything else, but you can't be pro-black.
So pro-blackness only resides in who you marry. There's no other benchmarks on pro-blackness.
He didn't say only.
It resides in who you love, Chantel. Pro-blackness is about love. That's why we start with the man. We don't start with cash. We don't start with materialism. We start with love.
Let me start
and
with
who you allow yourself to love.
Let me ask you a question though. And so you use love in only a one sense, right? I love the woman sitting next to me right now. This is why she's been my friend since I've met her, right? That doesn't mean that I don't love black women. I do, 100%. I just happen to marry a white woman. Happen to, yeah, it was happenstance, right?
I think that it takes a little bit more intentionality to marry somebody, good brother.
It takes a little bit more to make sure that your dating pool is all black. That takes intentionality.
100%. Right? 100%.
My dating pool was not all black. It was as mixed as could be, right? And out of that dating pool came Melissa. And so my feedback to you would be, I think black women are beautiful. I think I love this one, right?
Of course you do. I'm adorable.
Exactly. But yes, you are. But the root of that is, I don't think that love and who you love is negated by just marrying one. I do love black women. They are next to me all day, every day. So I think that's a point that we can take a little bit broader.
So what I'm hearing, and then I want to bring our third guest back in and shift gears a little bit. Is what I'm hearing Will say is that while he loves black women as a people, he happened to fall in love with one in particular white woman.
Indeed.
Okay.
I have an interesting question.
Oh man, that was a good one. I want to marry that one right there. I want to.
Status not
no, that's status.
No, you can't. Look, you can't. This is the other thing. You can't get caught up in the comments. We have tons of trolls.
No, Durante believe that shit.
We got so many trolls. We will have a whole nother show by the time you're done reading all of them. So you can't get preoccupied with the comments. Damn it, I forgot my question.
You on our list.
No, I know, but there was a question I was about to ask
sorry.
Montes, and I totally blanked. Oh, so your spouse, right? We've talked a little bit about you being pro-Black. What's your expectation about her engagement in Blackness, right? Like, do you have conversations about what it is to be Black, how she can support you as a Black man, how she can support the community as a non-Black person? Are those conversations you guys have? Or she's just free to be doing whatever she's doing?
I'm a very active person, so anyone that's going to be with me long term is going to have to be also. She comes from a sociology background, and the dynamics of feminism and racism in America are constant conversations in our house. Like I said, she's probably more liberal than I am, but she's the type of white woman to have hard conversations and address white women about the things that they need to address and issues that they have that they need to get through and work through.
Issues around how they interact with Black people, how they deal in patriarchy, all of the above.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because she's, like I say, she definitely has a strong sociological and feminist background. So she was actually an associate professor. So it's talked about and lived in a very dynamic way. She does have one mixed kid, but she's the type to fight for women's rights. But we actually met because she was fighting to keep us, the first Black coaching staff at a white school here in Southern Illinois in Granite City.
Mm-hmm.
So it was through activism that we met. So you'll know them from their works. So
is that part of the reason you fell in love with her, because of her extensive work in the community?
I fell in love with her because of her.
Mm-hmm.
And all that goes into being her. Yeah.
Okay.
That's part of her.
Yeah. Okay. All
but
right.
just as a quick note to the good brother Jamal, while I respect your right to think and feel however you so choose, I would counsel you about instructing young brothers and sisters to deny blessings based on the same arguments of people we claim to dislike. Racism from any direction, in any direction, is just that. Now, you might not have the power to institute it, but the spirit is still the same. And that's what matters. Love is beyond demographics. If your love has limits or bounds, it's not love. It's a form of like. Now, that's not an opinion, that's a spiritual tenet. You speak to any spiritual leader and they'll tell you the same. So that's where I stand on love and my approach to it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to bring you back in here. Then, of course, we got to bring in Jamal, because I'm sure Jamal's over there seething with some kind of heat.
No. I'm proud of his holding of tongue. Go ahead, brother.
So look, no, seriously.
No, don't you start. Don't you start. That was not an introduction
funny.
to let you start. Chantel, next question, please.
Will, how do you navigate the fine line between cultural appreciation and appropriation, especially when it comes to your relationship? Like, not to throw Mel under the bus, because I love Mel, right? But have there ever been moments where maybe she overstepped the bounds of trying to, what are the words I'm looking for? Like, when you're dating, you're trying to impress the person, right? Did she maybe like go a little too far and you were like, abort mission?
It is funny. She has never.
Oh.
Dante, that's the point of the show. Thank you for just tuning in 50 minutes later. What the fuck?
She has never, as a matter of fact, I've had to make situations. She was wearing a mask one day, like an actual mask. I had to take pictures of like blackface. I've literally manufactured it. And I think a lot of that comes because she asked questions about what is too far, right? What should I be saying here? Classic example. She actually doesn't know about this. I'm about to say it for the first time. She was having a conversation in open company with my aunt there. My aunt is very pro-black.
Oh, shout
and
out
my
to
aunt,
Auntie.
you've met her.
Oh, okay.
And we were talking about Black Panther 2. And she said Black Panther 2 wasn't as good as the first one, right?
Everybody seems to think so.
Exactly. But a white woman had that opinion.
Okay.
So my aunt takes that back, calls me 2 days later and says, hey, she shouldn't have had that opinion. She has no opinion on black movies. And I say,
Damn.
I say, Auntie, wait a minute.
She can't even, no Shaft.
Yeah, right.
No Roots. You have no opinion, right?
Keep it when Harry met Sally, and keep it cute.
Yeah, that's all you got. You ain't got no opinions on our shit. And so I said, Auntie, think about this for a second. We're talking about a movie, right? And all she's saying is nothing about the culture, nothing about how it affected the culture, but everything about it as a movie and how it wasn't as good as the first iteration of that movie. And I said, we have to take ourselves back from that and say, hey, just because she's white, she can have an opinion. But on the same side, if I would have said to her, hey, my aunt had an issue with how you represented that movie, she would have said, how do I fix it? Right? How do I, come back to her and say and get some common ground there? That's who I married, and that's one of the reasons we have gone through so much, is because she's so open to the idea of making things right with that side, with the culture, with the things that might be sensitive to my people. That makes sense.
This is why I love Mel. I love her. All right, Kimontis. I'm getting better with the name, yo. I'm getting better. Same question for you. How do you guys, and then we're gonna bring Jamal in here to maybe see if he can add some color to this, right? How do you navigate the fine
color? I see what you're trying to do there.
I actually didn't mean it.
Now we color. Look at that.
That's not quite what I meant.
Shout out to Sean. She hasn't dropped one N-bomb yet. Shout out to you.
There you go. This not that show. This not that show.
Hey, you right. Nigga.
Thanks for bringing it out, Jamal. Appreciate you.
I can't let him down. All right, back to the question. How do you navigate the fine line between cultural appreciation and appropriation in your relationship? And is there a way to do it just in general in relationships?
How many of y'all take these comments down? Toya, we gotta talk. My God.
You can't get they are trolls.
No.
Get caught up.
A lot of these folks mean this stuff, but continue. Continue, brother.
Go ahead.
Y'all are hilarious. It's not really an issue. She's her. She likes what she likes. Now, she's the type that if she likes a painting that might be a woman of color, she'll be like, yeah, I like it, but I wouldn't feel comfortable putting that up in the house because folks might feel like I'm trying to culturally appropriate. Like, she's that thoughtful and that concerned with even portraying the image. So, like I say, she's much more thoughtful than I am by nature. She's helped me grow in that area a great deal.
Okay, appreciate that.
Before I move on, Dante, don't think I won't bring my ass down to Arizona and kick your ass. Just know that.
These comments.
You just say don't get caught up by the troll.
These comments are hysterical.
Shit,
I come in peace. I ain't trying to leave in pieces.
This shit is hysterical.
I'm not
I
peaceful.
be looking at these comments like, yeah, damn.
I'm not peaceful.
I'm not even looking at the comments.
You should be.
Don't.
It's nothing but smut in there. Nothing but
Dante, I
smut.
complimented on her hair when she walked in the door. Don't you undermine my work, brother.
I'm going back.
I'm gonna say is this.
Undermine my work, my guy.
My people have a tendency to be really toxic and not really like to be healthy. So I get that. I grew up in a Black family. You know, they like to joan and all that stuff. Like, okay, it's cool, fine and dandy. I don't do that. Life is hard enough. You don't need that from me. What you need is encouragement. You need upliftment. You need empowerment. So Um, I,
You need
I
that.
get how our people can be and how hard it is for us to be serious, but at the same time, like I said, I'm not obligated to make anybody like the truth, believe the truth, accept the truth. I'm just here to make sure I expose it, and if those are open and accepting to it, they accept it. If not, blessed be they.
There you go.
All right, Jamal.
Kick that to Jamal.
You now we know your wife is black, so you all are not having cultural appreciation or appropriation conversations, right? But you got white friends. Like you down in Champaign. It ain't that many black folks in Champaign. How are you navigating that with your
How can
non-black
we have
friends?
white
Are they
friends?
having how are you navigating that with your white friends? How is she navigating with their white friends? Have you had any instances where they may have overstepped trying to show that they respect you and you had to say, oh, wait, no, that's once too many steps too far?
Yeah, so I think what we're talking about is, the quality of the character of the people we hang around. And so I got friends and I used to coach, and when I was coaching, I coached with a lot of white guys, and they were very conservative, and we'd have some deep conversations about politics and what have you. And sooner or later, somebody would say something that would hurt somebody else's feelings. But one, we're men, and two, we're quick to pull back and say, okay, we've gone too far. When you're talking to somebody you have a relationship with, you can tell them, hey man, that's too much. And if they respect you, they'll say, oh, my bad. So I mean, that's where I am with the people I roll with, is that I let them know when they've said something that I don't appreciate, and they do the same with me, because I say a lot of things just to say them, and
Oh, wow.
I push buttons, and my people, they know I'm a button pusher, so they deal with me. But yeah, it's not that big of a deal. When you're dealing with people that you care about, they care about you, it's never a big deal.
Oh, wow, that was not where I thought that question was gonna go
Okay,
with
well,
John.
I
listen.
think that
We
though
got to get on a fiery one with him.
no, because I think we've always just said we keep people in our circle that respect where we come from, right? And what's important to us. And so if we have people in our circle that's not doing that, they're probably not going to be in our circle very long.
Facts. Hold on. Stay focused.
Sorry, it's too many spinning plates
Stay
over
focused.
here. I feel like we should veer off of
Where do
this
you
a
wanna go?
bit.
I'm going to go back to this blend.
Have you? Okay, we'll go with Jamal. Since we talk about people and you have people in your circle, are racial conversations difficult? How do you navigate those kind of conversations about race and inequality? And they distracted me with these conversations about liquor. I need y'all to be
I saw
focused.
he was going to pour some more of the Japanese.
I
I
got
was
some
like, you
good
got to try
bottles.
some of this other shit.
So
I got some good bottles.
I'm gonna let y'all in a little bit about me. The
Yes.
reason I
You mean outside the
troll,
fact that you're a troll?
the reason I troll so hard on the internet is so when I have conversations with people I care about, it's not the first time I've heard it. It's not the first time I've said it, and I've thought about it deeply and critically analyzed and complex problem solved. So when I talk to people that it really matters, I make sure that I've already had this conversation. I'm practicing. Listen, perfect practice makes perfect, but perfect practice is something like that. But I'm practicing. So yeah. So that's it. And so my conversations with people, they are what they are.
Promise you.
So how are you navigating these conversations about race and equity with your white peers, Jamal? Like, and do you think they're actually, and I think the second part is probably the more interesting piece of this question, right? Do you think they actually get it?
Yeah, so my conversation with white folks about race is from an anti-racist perspective, right? Like I never get into what we're talking about today. What I talk to them about is the creation of the construct, how we still believe in the construct, how the ramifications still are privy, and that the true reason that we only care about race right now is because the quality of life of certain people is not based on their skills, abilities, and understandings. There's other things disavowing who we could be and what we can become, and it takes so much luck, right? So much has to happen in your life to become who you are. And so when I'm talking to white folks about this construct of race and this irrationality and all of this influence on other people, it's really to get them to become anti-racist, right? To deconstruct race. When we start talking about its origins, its influence, it falls apart completely. But since it does exist and it does have such a bearing on our life, we have to be intentional about it until there is no more. There's this thing called choice architecture. It's a concept developed by a guy named Richard Thaler or something like that. And it suggested, again, that decisions are influenced by societal structures. The overrepresentation of whiteness in media, beauty standards, institutional spaces creates conditions and preferences that leads to an implicit bias towards whiteness. And the only way you get rid of an implicit bias towards whiteness is if you shift the pendulum back towards blackness. So that's when we come back to this thing about Black love. If I'm going to talk anything about anti-racism and being pro-Black, the one thing I covet the most, my wife, better be Black.
Kemontis, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Jamal just went all around the mulberry bush, raised some points, but I appreciate it. So you mentioned earlier that you had been married or have two, or you have all your children with Black women. Whether you're not married to them, that neither here nor there at this point. Did those relationships with Black women in any way, shape, or form point you in the direction of your now white wife? Did the quote unquote negative impact of those relationships make you look outside of Blackness for your wife? I'm not saying it did. I'm asking the question.
Well, for one, the mother of my oldest girls, that wasn't a negative situation. We're still friends to this day. The second, that was a choice I knew I shouldn't have made, and made it for the reasons that I made it.
I'm not going to ask you no more questions about that.
But to answer your question directly, I've never dated anyone due to their color. I've spoken with and been on dates with almost every race on the planet. I was Black at an all-white school for about 3 years. I went to school for 5 years. So it was rough when I got there. A lot of overt racism, stuff you can imagine, stuff you can't. But by the time that I left, not only did I run it, I ran it righteously, in such a way that when we had racial issues as we got older, Black people and white people listened to what I had to say and the leadership that I gave on issues, simply because I lived the life. I don't talk about Black leadership, I live it. When I got a chance to be in control, I didn't turn around and beat the hell out of people just because I've got the power now. Let me treat you how you treated me. No, let me show you the righteous way. Let me show you the way it's supposed to be. So that even to this day, I mean, I was the type of person women come and tell guys on. So it's kind of crazy that you would sit up here and really make some serious argument that, oh, I can have white friends, but I can't marry a white wife. If you have love, it doesn't have confines. It does not have demographics. Because when you talk about love, you're talking about embracing the all. Correct? Correct, Mayat? That is what you were talking about, correct? Because I mean, it's in your name, so we want to make sure we're talking about love since you want to use it. That's embracing the all. Does the all have demographics?
You want me to answer? I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's a direct question. I'm looking for an answer. Yes or no?
Say it again, brother.
This is a very
Maya, right?
Yes or no?
Okay. You. That's your name.
Yes, sir.
You've been talking about love.
Yes, sir.
When we talk about love in regards to Mayat, that's embracing of the all, correct?
Yes, sir.
Does the all have demographics? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
What Name it.
There's 7.8 billion people on the planet. If we were 1 in a million, hold on, let me finish. I'll let you talk. If
You're
we
not
were
answering
1
my
in a
question.
million,
You're not
1 in a
answering my
million,
question.
there'd be
You're trying to deflect,
780,000
bro,
of us
bro,
just
Jamal.
like me.
Look. Let's have an honest conversation.
I'm
All right.
trying to give
Now
you
we
an
let
answer.
you
wait,
troll.
I'm
We
gonna
let
give
you
you
joke.
your answer.
I'm asking you to give me a direct
Not
answer.
the conversation, however.
Uh,
This is not the conversation. We're spinning off a little bit, bros. Let's keep it on focus. I'm gonna pass it to Will real quick and
Yeah.
ask him the same question.
And hopefully he can actually answer the
He
question.
can't. So you mentioned
He
earlier
knows
that,
the answer to the question. He just doesn't want to answer.
no, okay. So Will, you mentioned earlier that you went to University of Indiana,
Uh-huh.
or is it Indiana
Indiana
University?
University,
There you
yeah.
go. I'm sorry.
IU.
ILL. We don't mess with that. But but so there are on. I understand your perspective on the limited amount of sisters on campus today, from as a U of I and Illinois State alum. So, and you mentioned that you dated in all circles, but because of the sports you played, you had more access or were around more young ladies that were not of color.
Yes.
But you did marry a woman of color. So, did any of your experiences dating women of color point you in the direction of, I ain't doing that shit again?
Yeah, we should probably go back even a step further than that. My high school girlfriend, the woman I thought I was going to marry, was also black, right?
Well, she
So-
was at Hyde Park. We already know.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
There are not white people at Hyde Park.
True
Sorry.
statement, right? So we did this walk from black to mixed to white. Nothing about the experiences with the black or the mixed woman made me say, hey, I'm not doing this again. I think there was a lot of conversations though I had with my boys. Especially, I'm a Sigma for everybody who don't know, about, you know, black women and how the interactions between black women and black men, especially on that campus, how they were being had, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of what I would say a misrepresentation of what a good relationship between black individuals looks like on that campus, right? We didn't do it well, right? And so, and I'm not saying it was just me, it was just a group of us, the people around me, we just didn't do it well, right? And it put in a lot of people's minds a bad taste about black women in their minds. Now, the vast majority of them ended up marrying black women. I just didn't, right? So it never personally happened to me, but we were dysfunctional as a community in Indiana. And it had a lot to do with the fact that we were surrounded by so many fucking white people. And so I think that for some people did, you know, taint the waters. I didn't do it for me. I didn't have that perspective, but I know some that did.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Understood. Jamal, when you dated that one white girl at University of Illinois, is that what messed you up when you? No, I'm just playing.
He was like, fuck that, man. That's when the shit ended right there.
I'm just messing with you. Sean, where we going?
I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna throw Will under the bus. We're gonna move on to another question.
Oh no, Will is here. Throw him under.
Bust me.
Okay, so
Bust me.
all right, so
Oh, no, Jamal.
I distinctly remember a conversation that Will and I had.
Ooh, let's go.
This was when I was
Love
working under
I
him,
might have to look
so
at
I
her.
couldn't
I
respond
might have
the
to
way
look
I
at
wanted
her
to at the
for this
time
one.
because he was my
Oh.
boss. But he said,
There's some decade held type.
Yeah,
we-
right. She probably hurt.
Will, and I think it actually has to do with me. People love to just tell me things about themselves, which I appreciate. I'm always curious why, but I appreciate. But we was having this conversation, and he said to me, verbatim, they had an issue with black women.
Who?
You.
I did.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I gotta hear
Because they
this.
fall in one of two categories.
Mm.
They are either massively aggressive or massively passive.
Oh,
And
I
that
don't know
made
if
it struggle for you to date them.
I'm not sure that was exactly the two
I wish
categories.
I wish I could go into my brain and pull out the
I think
conversation.
those are the only two categories I put them into, but that one does resonate. The massively aggressive one does resonate. And there's a conversation we've had, and I think most of my friends have had this conversation. So my best friend, he is black, blue fire all day, right? He is married to a very aggressive black woman. And that goes all the way back to college. That's that same dichotomy that I was just talking about, where in, you know, good relationships and bad ones, he was a part of the one that I couldn't consider positive, right? And so one of the reasons it wasn't positive because he couldn't get a word out. He couldn't express himself, couldn't honestly be himself. And so that carried forward for a very long time. Now, Jamal, I did not attribute this to all Black women. Ever.
He was
okay?
ready. He was
All right.
ready.
I'm just saying. That is something, though, that I saw. And it did affect some things. And yes, you are correct that although I don't think
and you could have grown. We had this conversation 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You clearly, I imagine you had grown at that point. You weren't married. You had just gotten divorced a few years before. So I do attribute that conversation to your feelings about your divorce at the time, right? I don't know if you hold those feelings now, but to make this show fun, we got to do a little fun.
But I think it was probably more categories to where I put Black women than just those two. But that one was important to me because it did affect some relationships around me.
Fair enough.
No,
so,
Dante.
there you go.
Cannot. That's what we do.
I don't know where to go from
This
here.
for the culture, Dante.
You realize we have not chimed into any of this?
I let these three brothers cook. I'm letting these three brothers cook. I do not have to say a word. I love each of their perspectives and what they're bringing.
But we have not talked about it. If we think you can marry white, it be pro-Black.
Jen said she liked me, and now she don't like me no more. God damn it!
You know what? To be fair, she was.
You lucky Jen moved. She'd probably be in the studio
Yeah,
trying to convince you about what you should
I
not
be
be
trying
doing
to duck
physically. All right, and I don't mean violently.
That's true.
I am paying very much attention to your
All
comments.
these comments are hilarious today.
All right, so hold on, and excuse us, brothers, as we dive into our self commentary for just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Sean.
Okay, so Jamal's gonna hate me, but I do think you can be pro-Black and marry white. I do think they are mutually exclusive. Now, I will say, I don't understand how you can potentially navigate those waters with a white spouse or partner or whatever. But I think if you lay the groundwork, Will has said this, like he let the expectations be very, very clear out top. And I think if they're willing to follow that lead, I think there's a way to do it. I would imagine it's incredibly difficult, but I think it can be done.
Interesting. So this personally speaks to my life. Not clearly I'm married to a Black woman, but my father is married to a white woman.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And I have a biracial sister, and she's married to a white man and has a still biracial daughter. And my father is one of the most active, community conscious Kappas that I have ever met in my life. So to say that, to Kamata's point earlier, that if we're talking about action and activity and moving, moving the community forward by action, I gotta say yes. I'm really split on this. But to Jamal's point, and this is where I'm saying this in my own family, right? So my father married a white woman, love her to death. She's awesome. My sister's awesome. She married a white man. Now they have a quarter biracial child.
Would they be a quarter?
So she's more white than Black.
Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
If she married somebody white.
Yeah. Diluted, okay. Yeah. It's a quarter now. Okay. Yeah. You're right.
Diluted. Mm-hmm. No, she's a quarter now because my sister's half.
And if she marries white, then it'll be an eighth and then a 16th.
So diluted. So to propagate and continue, not that most of us that live in America aren't biracial in some way, shape, or form, percentage-wise, but to keep the Black family alive in a certain regard, you got to marry Black. You got to move the race forward, Black. And I'm a proponent of that. But I do not hold anything against or doubt anybody's necessary pro-Blackness because they've decided to marry otherwise based on the actions they move forward from them. Now, I do when you're moving in another way, but you don't have to be married white for me to do that, right?
Fair. you can definitely be anti-Black and have all the Black wives and all the Black
Candace
children.
Owens could marry Shaq, and I still think that motherfucker.
Just say she's not. She's married to a white man with biracial children.
I'm just saying, if she had, based on how she moves, how she operates, how she thinks, to me, she's not for us for the most part. Now there are a couple things she does say I do agree with, but
she does.
There's
right twice a day.
There have been one or two things she said. I'm like, I feel that.
Please send me a clip.
Well, that's a whole other.
I don't hear any.
I got.
A broken clock is right twice
Agreed. That's the point, Jamal. That's the point.
What's that?
That's the point. Our clock is right twice.
Fair.
That's right.
Broken clock, right?
That's right. The other 24
Really,
hours.
Jamal?
Yeah.
How did you get credit for that? That's crazy.
No,
That's
he didn't.
crazy.
He got credit for saying
That's
it today,
crazy.
not in general.
I said it right before him. That was the only thing. It's okay. It's all right.
My bad.
It's all right. Give it to the comic relief.
That's right. But both my brothers are correct. So
Agree
that's
with
kind
Candace
of
Owens. I don't even know you anymore.
Hey. So, I mean, Donald Trump said a couple things. I'm like,
Nigga, what?
Donald Trump been around for 50 years. You don't think he ever said nothing I agree with?
No.
Can I jump in?
Come on, Jamal.
All right, so Fosh, was giving us the breakdown of your family structure, and I was hearing the mental gymnastics we have to go through to make this race construct real, right? Like half this, quarter this, and then we fully recognize that Black folks come in so many shades because somewhere down the line we've all been touched here and there, and so this is why it's important that we get back to the intentionality of this conversation. While race is not biologically real, right, except for skin color, skin tone, it's a social reality that has real consequences. And deconstructing race prematurely, because I'm anti-racist, I want to deconstruct it. I want to have a day where the color of somebody's skin matters not, right? But I do know right now it does. And if we try to act like it's not important before we get rid of the disparities that are not being addressed and the deepening inequality that's just growing, then we got problems. We are fighting racism. And it requires an acknowledgement of race as the weaponization of race. You have to acknowledge that. And rather than pretending it doesn't exist and saying that, hey, we live in a society in which it's just love and, just love who you want to love, race isn't merely fiction. If it was, it wouldn't dictate wealth, life expectancy.
I was just about to say, can you write this down?
What you read from?
He been reading the whole time. Y'all let him finish.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I respect a brother that comes to these things prepared.
I'm not bad at it. I'm not bad at it.
No,
phenomenal job.
But Jamal normally is off the cuff. I'm very thrown off by him reading.
When he was reading the one quote, I wasn't tripping. But now
he's reading something else. What the hell is happening?
No, I think he.
No, I gave him a warning. I gave him a warning before we got on when I let him know how I was going to be approaching the conversation. So that's why he's doing what he's doing. I'm not going to I'm not going to take this time and psychoanalyze him for what he decided to do. But it's okay.
I legitimately believe he took the talking points earlier and had a whole group of talking points. Like my wife asked me if I had. Actually,
you're correct. Yeah. This is what Jamal does. This is a prepared brother. Speak from your heart, Jamal. I don't want to see you read no more.
Hey.
I don't know what's happening on this show. But
come on, Jamal.
Go ahead.
I was done, man. Y'all ruined my flow. I don't even know where I was at. I'm done.
Will wanted to hop in.
I got one thing, and I think this is a question for the group, even the people that are writing some of the most interesting comments ever.
Yes.
I think a lot of people believe that our intentionality around keeping the family Black and whatnot is the only way we move forward. And I've said to people over and over again, I don't think as a race we're able to do it by ourselves. We need help, right? Because the construct's too big for us to fight it by ourselves. And so wouldn't it be nice if we ingrained the people that we love around us to say, hey, how about you help us get to a place of more equal standing with all of these other folks? Because if we try to do it ourselves, we need to literally leave this place and create a community of our own. If we're going to stay here, we're going to need help. We're not big enough. We don't have enough people. We don't have the resources. And so if we're saying, hey, pro-Black is only, Black family, and then starting from there and doing everything else, then we need to leave. We need to have our own community. If we're going to stay here, we need help. And so I think the way we're doing it with having people that are intentional, that are white, that are around us, who we have in our circle, helping us move the race forward is important if we're going to stay here.
And I would double down on that. We know in every movement that has propelled Black people forward, white people had to engage to get it. The Montgomery boycott, just anything in the 60s, white people had to get involved in order to move. Even in 2020 with what's his face in Minnesota, they got killed by the cop.
Floyd.
Thank you.
George Floyd.
That did not propel until white people got pissed off and were marching in the streets alongside black people. So to Will's point, I agree. We're going to have to get everybody involved in order for black people to have. We had some equity to even
love
get more.
Jamal's face right now tells me everything I need to know.
Jamal's done. So hold on, Jamal, before you go, hold on, before you jump in, and even I feel Jamal, because I was thinking the same thing, but even if we were to completely remove ourselves from this structure, which we're not going to.
Yep.
I am, but
if you ain't doing shit, even if we still in this country. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. If we wanted to have Black Wall Street again, where do you think Black Wall Street usually got their seed money from? Right now, where would they have to get it from?
Gotta be white folks.
Because
there's not enough of us to seed what we want to do.
Exactly.
That's just the facts.
True.
No, that's not true.
Not in America.
That's not true.
Not in America. No, it's not.
Do the money that Black Americans spend, just Black Americans, do you realize how large that is as an economy in the world?
No, but where do we get that from is the point of the question. We get it from working for white folks. That's the point of what Brian is saying.
Right. Exactly. If we completely dissolve ourselves from that, where's that income coming from?
Yeah. Somebody's
got to invest in us before we can invest in ourselves.
So if Jay-Z, the billionaire, decided to say, hey, we're only going to employ Blacks, and now we're going to take over that burden that white folks were doing for us, that'd be different. But that's not how this is working. We're getting the majority of our income from white folks. I know I am. And so,
okay, I understand what you're saying now. Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
That's
like we can't get the bread to get it together without them. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Bingo.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be. It's not possible because we don't own enough shit to employ ourselves. That's just not.
Well, I mean, if we were willing to change our spending habits, we can withdraw our finances from the current structure, create our own, and go from there. But that would require restructuring how we spend, what we buy, why we buy it, where we invest.
Agreed. That will require discipline. Right now, we haven't demonstrated.
We don't.
I'm resisting getting on that.
But I know you are. But and Jake has hit me with the 15-minute warning 20 minutes ago. So let's wrap this. Let's wrap this. This is first of all, let me start by saying I even though this was a conversation that could have went 100 million different ways. But it never spun. Yes. Every conversation we've ever had, be it about this or about Jay-Z and Beyonce, has always spun off topic a little bit. I do appreciate everybody's perspectives, everybody respecting everybody else's perspective. This is one of those topics that could have went 100 million miles nuclear and left. And I appreciate that everybody appreciated everybody's perspective, even if they didn't agree. And for the most part, everybody the opportunity to kind of speak their mind. And I appreciate that because I think that everybody in this conversation right now, whether or not they 100% agree on how we can and should get there, want the best for us. So I appreciate everybody's perspective on that. I do want to give everybody, as always, 1 minute. Literally, everybody take 1 minute. Final thoughts on any way you want to go with this, and then we'll wrap it real quick. And let's start, Will, if you don't mind.
No problem. First and foremost, I appreciate those comments because I am definitely pro-Black. When I got asked about this topic, it's pretty interesting because I was like, am I really pro-Black? And I really had to get, look introspectively to say, am I doing enough, right? That actually made me think about some things that I'm not doing that I could be doing, right? The overall premise and where we want to go is correct. But am I putting all the dollars and all the resources in the right places? And I think to myself, I say, yeah, I got more work to do, right? So the idea of even preparing for getting on here did put me in a better spot. But the overall premise is still the same. I really do believe that you can be pro-Black without having a quote-unquote all-Black family and trying to get those around you to move you into the same direction in the community in the same direction, but positively and in a more equal ground, right? And so I want to leave everybody with the idea that I don't think it's a black and white kind of a question. I believe that there's gray here. And I think that the intentionality around who you have around you and where you're trying to go matters, right? And if that's all pointing in the same direction, then I do believe you're pro-Black, no matter if that race is white, Black, Asian, etc.
Okay. Key Montes? It only took me to the end to get your name right.
You've been doing good.
No, you've been smooth with it. You've been smooth with it since like the second time. I've appreciated the attention. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come on. It's been interesting. And I will say this: when we talk about recycling our dollars, that's not the only currency we need to be making sure we're recycling. I got into coaching because I knew eventually I'm getting old. We need more leaders. And the cultural cachet that we have, the intellectual cachet that we have, the emotional intelligence, the spiritual intelligence that we have, these are all different ways that we can recycle and help feed our community. And I feel that as long as we're doing that as best that we can, when we can, then that's as pro-Black as we can ever be. And that's love.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you. All right, Jamal, that minute was real.
Hey, I feel like the other brothers, they cut theirs a little short, so I should get some extra time on this.
No.
Hey man, I think I actually hit 60 seconds. I was doing it on purpose.
So no, you know what? First and foremost, shout outs to the brothers. Take courage to come out here and put your life on the line and have people judge you. So shout outs to y'all on that. I took on this pro and con piece because I do believe wholeheartedly in what we were discussing, but more importantly, I'll never push my thoughts and opinions on anybody else. Live your life to the best of your ability and do as much good as you can while you're here. I believe in this thing called the Sun and Bunum, right? That's the greatest good. And what is the greatest good? Well, the greatest good is that we treat everybody fairly, and we allow folks to be judged on a meritocracy, on what you're worth. What do you know? What can you do? That's what it should be about. Now, we all know society is much different than that, right? That certain people, just because of where they were born, who their parents were, they're getting a bad take, right? Their quality of life is being hampered. And until we address that, we have to be intentional about how we move and what we do. And I'm not saying what the right way is to go. You guys brought up a great point when you were saying that, hey, white folks through history have been allies and helped us on some of our better movements. Sure enough. It's funny. I saw this one little meme where we don't talk too much about who those white folks are. Why? Because we don't want to duplicate it. We know about who the bad white folks are. We know about any white folks that was murdered trying to do the right thing, but we don't talk about folks who did the right thing and pushed the movement because they don't want to see it duplicated. But the point is this. We have to get right first, right? Before anyone else can help us do anything, we have to help ourselves. And I think how we go about that is important. And I'll leave it at that. Shout outs for having me. Hey, till the next topic, call your boy.
You'll be back in like 3 weeks. Jamal.
I'm not honest with you, man. Jamal, even though he's on the other side of this thing, I fucks with you. I appreciate that, man.
I'm in the middle of a 24-hour fast for all you crazy folks out there. So let's get this vegan and fast topic rolling. Get that going.
Fast, my G.
He owns 24 hours and I'm drinking his blends.
I want Jamal Garrett on here. Bring him on. Put him on the mic.
Oh,
Garrett, I don't know.
They have a whole meat, non-meat conversation every day on the zone. But go ahead.
I don't really know what to say here. I guess I'll just reiterate. I do think you can be pro-Black and marry white. I think you have an incredibly tough role to hold, not just the Black individual, but it has to be tough for the white person too, right? Like you are stepping in, unless you just grew up around Black people, you are stepping into a culture and a dynamic that Black people can barely navigate. So I can't imagine coming from that level of privilege, trying to understand and navigate it. But shout out to them for even attempting to do it. I can't imagine the complexities of it. But yeah, it's got to be hard to navigate. But shout out to everybody who's deciding to do it. Love who you love. Even though Jamal is right, y'all did pick them before loving them, but I digress.
Not true, and I can prove it, but that's another day.
Yeah.
You did have to approach him.
That's just it. You did have to say, Rebecca, you look lovely.
Yeah, she punched me right before she got done.
Anyway, hey,
Never
first of
approached a woman in my life, so
let me say we had a lot of new people watching that I hadn't seen in the comments before. Some of the comments, only one really, or two were ignorant, and I don't mean I don't mean ignorant in the way Dante is talking. I'm talking like just ignorant. He's a lot of these folks are just talking shit, even though they mean half the stuff they say. There's truth in every joke. But I will say this is a tough conversation to have. I appreciate everybody that participated in the dialogue. We live in a world that is more and more and more mixed and integrated and all every day. So these conversations aren't going anywhere. I appreciate everybody that is on the panel today and living in their truth, whatever truth that is. And the point of this on our 5-year anniversary, the point of this podcast is to have these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We don't always have to agree. We don't always have to move in the same direction. But if we never, ever have any honest conversations about some of these things, how can we ever hope to progress? Again, I don't need you to agree with me, but we need to have a respectful dialogue about our disagreements. And that's all I ever ask, even though I don't halfway do it myself most of the time. so I got work to do. We all got work to do.
Sure.
Real quick, I have a question, bro. Am I still a bot?
Are you still
a bot?
I never called you a bot, but
was that me?
You might have did it. You might have did it under him. He in the comment he told me I was a bot and said bye R2D2.
Never.
No, that was me.
That was you?
That was me.
I would never say no shit like that.
Okay, then. So am I still a bot?
Oh my God.
That's not how I type, so I know that was not me.
So am I still a bot?
I was being a smart ass because you were saying something weird. So I was like, this gotta be a bot. But
no, you are real, brother, and I appreciate you coming on. As somebody that doesn't know either one of us personally in real life, I appreciate when folks
that.
want to join us on the show and put their perspective out there.
No problem. Y'all do great work.
Really do. Hey, so again, everybody, thank you for joining us. Another awesome episode. We will be back next week, same time, same channel. We haven't quite decided. We were supposed to do a show that followed up or was linked to Valentine's Day, but we got pushed a week.
We're back.
Yeah, so we might.
I think we can still do it.
You think we might still do it?
Yeah.
All right.
I think we. So what I thought was we do a breakup song draft. Best breakup songs. So
Sean had the best breakup song draft, and as I researched that, I don't know if there are enough songs that are breaking up to
you don't
have.
think so?
Not a whole draft.
Some damn DJs, y'all can figure it out.
Well, enough. If you went to white people, they have a lot of.
Oh, that's right.
Especially in country.
Well, a lot of them. Well, see, now we lose half. We have 5 people watching.
We can talk about it. We'll think of something for next week.
That's all right. We'll be back in next week, same time, 7:00 Central. We love you. In the Zone Podcast. Till next time.